Here, two of the top trucks in America were disqualified early in the competition. Talking about Gravedigger and USA 1, but Army Armstrong, the owner of USA 1, Everett Jasmer, has already gone on record as saying he feels as though his truck and driver got robbed that night. What about it?
That's exactly what he feels. He says, we deserve the win. Scott Stevens did not deserve the win. Scott Stevens comes back and says, hey, it's the same track. We all had to run on it. I just drove a better race than your driver, Rod Litzow, and that's all there is to it.
Of course, Scott Stevens drives King Crunch, and he got his first win of 1989. But what about this track? Is it that rough?
The track is different than it was in the past. The reason being it's 3 jumps this year, Richard, not 2 jumps, so they cannot get that awesome speed they've been getting in Nashville. They're getting a lot of air. But it all starts right on the starting line with the angle of the first ramp. The drivers say they do not have enough space between the first ramp and the second ramp to actually get the truck straight. That's giving them all problems, and that's what makes it a driver's track.
And, of course, the top guns are here, including the hometown hero, talking about David Morris, an equalizer. Going to have to keep our eye on him. And, oh, I forgot about the other big story from last week. That's a story that Army Armstrong, for the first time in over a year, you missed a prediction.
Yeah, but my guy was disqualified. He'll be back tonight. Let's see how it's going to turn out.
We're going to get the action underway. It's straight ahead on ESPN.
Power Tracks and the Renegades TNT Monster Truck Challenge is brought to you by the Heartbeat of America, today's Chevy trucks.
And welcome back to the Music City, or I might say the Monster Madness City tonight. It's the Renegades TNT Monster Truck Challenge from the Nashville Motor Raceway. And Army, I guess you might say tonight is a night of revenge for some of the guys.
Well, some of the guys, they definitely have blood in their eyes because of the track. The track itself is long in length, but you have to drive it as it's 2 short tracks. You have to attack the first part of the course and be straight for the final part of the course. This young man seems to have figured it out as he has the rest of the field covered, and the field, including USA 1, by 0.2 of a second.
He is our quick qualifier. Scott Stevens gets by run. Then it's Mad Dog against Wild Hair. Following that, we're going to be seeing the Nightlife up against Yosemite Sam. Then the Equalizer, a hometown boy that is dangerous, David Morris, right here from Nashville, taking on the awesome Gravedigger of Dennis Anderson. Fairly Tame will come out next against a relatively newcomer on the block. That is Tough Enough with Pablo Cruz. Then it's Master of Disaster against the Barbarian, Illinois, taking on Minnesota in that race. And then we're going to have the USA 1, Rowdy Rod Litzow, disqualified last week, up against the hometown Ford, No Problem. And those are the pairings for the first round as Scott Stevens takes it down. That's really all he had to do was get down the track to make his bye run.
Well, the bye run, Stevens earned it by virtue of having quick qualifying time, and all he did was use that run, the easy passes, just to check the track out. He won last week, and he said one of the reasons he won is he kept an eye on the track and noticed how it was changing during the night. Speaking of changing during the night, we've got a change in drivers as Mad Dog's going to be pulling up in one lane, but we've got a new driver in the other lane, Richard.
Well, these are really brother trucks, Wild Hair against Mad Dog, but that is a newcomer, rookie Kurt Fisher, now driving Wild Hair, John Breen in the Mad Dog.
Kurt Fisher's new to the monster truck game. He's been around mud racing for many times. He will not advance in this round. John Breen takes the Mad Dog in front of a sellout crowd at Nashville Raceway into that next round of elimination.
Army, are you sure this is racing? Those guys look very, very slow coming down this track.
I will not say they're slow. I say they're cautious. Remember, I said a moment ago you have to drive this long track that has 3 jumps like it's 2 short tracks. You've got to be straight after the second set of cars in order to line up for the final set of cars where the finish line is located.
But now we've got a battle of a Ford against a Chevrolet. Sam Chutpour and Yosemite Sam out of Jonas Rich, North Carolina, against Dave Wysorek, the Nightlife Chevy out of Nebraska.
The Yosemite Sam truck seems to be dialed in on this track. We know this last week. His weight, his horsepower, his gear ratio work perfect on this track. And keep in mind, the condition of the track is going to play a big factor before this thing's over tonight.
And there you see it, the Ford Yosemite Sam with Sam Poor gets the, I'm going to call it an upset win over the Nightlife.
Yeah, it would be considered an upset because Wysorek runs this whole circuit with it. Yosemite Sam comes from out of nowhere, but he's going to the next round.
Well, get ready for our first real barn-burning race of the night. Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger will be facing David Morris and the Equalizer. Morris right here from outside Nashville, Tennessee. That is his wife, Nancy. And an interesting story about how they met and how David got involved in monster truck racing.
David called me and asked me if I'd like to go to the monster truck race. And this was our first date last year, and at the race, he informed me that he was going to start driving a monster truck. It was kind of hard to believe, but 2 months later he started driving a monster truck.
Nancy, you have to be a little bit apprehensive when you watch your husband drive one of these vehicles. What goes through your mind, for an example, when he flipped end over end in Richmond, Virginia?
I was terrified when he flipped. I was a little relieved when I saw him come out of the truck and he was okay, but the thing kept going through my mind of his flip, and when they even dragged the truck off the track, the damage was just amazing, and it was unreal that he was okay.
David, we were right there when you did flip. I noticed something you did, and we brought it to the people's attention on television. When you came out of the truck, the first thing you did was walk over and wave to an area where we knew that she was sitting. Is that the reason you did that, to let her know you were okay?
Yeah, that's exactly the reason I did that, to let her and everyone else know that I was fine.
And now let's see if he's going to be fine. As Nancy says, a silent prayer. They're at the starting line. It's Gravedigger and Equalizer, two of the best in the country.
Richard, is going to be the battle of the kamikazes on this one. Watch for an all-out run both sides of the track. Like you say, this is the first time. Oh, we've got a major problem on the starting line. The Gravedigger, he's not going to back out a bit. But the Equalizer, your current national points leader and your hometown boy, he did not move.
Boy, how disappointing for David Morris. All of his family on hand outside Nashville. They've come to see the races tonight, and he sits on the starting line going absolutely nowhere. But good news for the Gravedigger fans. Gravedigger advances on into the quarterfinal round of action. We're going to go trackside to check out exactly what happened with David's truck.
You talk about the pressure building right now up in the national points chase, and the truck didn't move at all on the starting line. What happened?
Died deader than a hammer. We've been having trouble with the engine up here at this race, and when I called on it just then, it just went deader than a doornail.
It seems like that it was a jetting problem to me, but if anybody ought to be able to figure out how to make an engine run in Nashville, Tennessee, it should be you guys. This is exactly where you live.
That's right. Motor's been running fine all year long. He just decided to act up here.
Well, we are only halfway through the first round of action. Still to come, it's Barely Tame, Tough Enough, Master of Disaster, Barbarian, USA 1, and No Problem. Back with all the action straight ahead on Power Tracks and ESPN.
Stand by to witness the most awesome display of raw power on Earth. 15,000 pounds of fire and steel leap into the air and crush their way to glory in the ultimate battle of the monster trucks. ESPN and TNT Motorsports presents Turning the Power On. Video excitement as close as your telephone. Feel the thunder. Hear the deafening power of America's ultimate muscle sport, truck and tractor pulling. You've got a front row seat for the thrill of the monsters. Modified Superstock, modified four-wheel, super modified two-wheel drive, TNT Stomper Chevy, Jim Lyons, Ken Lamont, and the Wild Two-Wheelers. The Banter Brothers multi-engine pulling beast, and featuring the ultimate Renegade Monster Truck Challenge. Turning the power on. Now on video for only $19.95, only through this TV offer. Order now and get a video bonus. The hilarious Crazy Car Bloopers, upended monsters, collisions, exploding engines, and more on Turning the Power On. You can't have a better time for under $20.
Welcome back to the Nashville Motor Raceway. Richard Leake and Army Armstrong about halfway through the first round of competition. Coming out next is going to be Randy Spanier, the Barely Tame Ford. He's out of Albany, Minnesota, taking on a real rookie on this circuit. As a matter of fact, tonight is only the 7th time he has been in a monster truck, talking about Pablo Cruz, the 28-year-old out of Phoenix, Arizona, and the Tough Enough Ford.
Well, Richard, Pablo's new to this sport, and we're glad to have him here because he's definitely a comer in the sport, but he's not new to motorsports. He's involved in mud racing for many years. Tough Enough has a reputation in that sport. He's trying to establish himself with a strong reputation in this sport, but believe me, when you jump up to this type of competition, you better be tough. And Pablo, look at this. This kid out of Arizona, definitely playing hardball. Great run. Look, he's looking smoother than anybody on this three-jump track.
And I'll tell you what, with this tough track, being smooth is very important, isn't it?
Well, you've got to be in line for the last jump. The first half of the course is just something you have to go over. The finish line's at the end, and look at Cruz. He's relatively straight. The truck is leaning left and right, but it's going straight.
So the kid from Phoenix, Arizona moves into the quarterfinals. He'll be racing against our fastest loser from the first round as we get ready next for a beautiful truck. It is a Chevrolet from Albany, Minnesota. Doug Spanier, the brother to Randy. This is called the Master of Disaster, and he's taking on the Illinois boy, Jim Miller and the Barbarian Ford.
Jim Miller just stepped up on horsepower, bought a big buck engine, makes a lot of horsepower, so this will probably be a battle of the chassis. Both of these trucks way up on the horsepower. Spaniard known for his notorious outlaw-type horsepower in the Chevrolet, but the Barbarian Ford says he can put him away. We're going to find out right now. They both lead side by side. Look at that Ford go! I have never seen that truck run that quick in my life, Richard.
Boy, he has really got it dialed in the Music City. Talking about Jim Miller, the Barbarian. He gets another upset win, this one over the Master of Disaster.
Real quick, Jim, I know you're busy. You were awfully busy up in that truck. What was going on that run?
Well, what happened, I just put it to the floor and let my 1,000 horsepower engine go, and I cut loose my front drive shaft, but I got another, and I'll be back in competition.
What about the engine? The engine did not want to shut down, and when you were on the end of the track, you had to actually kill it.
Well, that motor's running so much horsepower that it just almost won't shut down. It's like a big funny car engine, and it's just a lot of power.
See you in the next round.
Okay, thank you.
You know, that's good news tonight for Jim Miller, because this is action from last week. At the starting line, he died.
Yeah, right on the starting line, he tried to get the horsepower to work for him, and it wasn't. The horsepower was not the problem. The problem was in the transmission. It blew up, blew a lot of fluid out. The safety crew knocked the fire out, but
there's a lot of our great little fans here in Nashville. Boy, they love these monsters, don't they?
The youngsters around the country identify with these monster trucks. You say monster truck, the little kids' eyes are going to light up all over the country.
They also identify with this guy. It's the defending Renegades national champion, Rowdy Rod Litzow, USA 1, and he is out to regain some, well, what he feels like was lost honor in last week's races. He was disqualified. More about that in a minute. He's taking on the Ford from right here in Tennessee, no problem, and John Moore.
I look for John Moore to give this rascal the ride of its life. Hometown folks, no problem Ford. You gotta, everybody goes after USA 1. There's a lot of controversy around this truck. Everett Jasper says it's the dominant truck on the circuit. He's 2/10 slower in qualifying, but believe me, he's riding a rocket right now in this round of elimination, Richard.
And Rod Litzow gets the win over no problem. Last week he was disqualified, a controversial decision he thought, but tonight, no chances of a DQ. He wins it straight out.
The track is rough. It's hard. I'm just going to have to keep it on the track to just make it a win, because I'm just going to go gun-ho with the truck. I just have to keep it on the track is all I'm going for tonight.
Everybody knows you're under the pressure. You've got to go for a win tonight, so everybody's coming after you. John Moore just ran you a beautiful race. Everybody wants your high tonight in Nashville. What's going through your mind out there?
Right now, I'm putting it all out of my mind, because I know that's what they want. All I'm going to do is run my race. I'll run the best race I can, and that's what I'm going out here to do. I'm not going to think about the other drivers. I'm going to run fast times all night.
Good luck to you. See you in that next round.
Thank you.
Well, the first round is over. Quarterfinal straight ahead with King Crunch against Mad Dog. Yosemite Sam against Gravedigger. No problem against Toughing Up, and Barbarian takes on USA 1. Back with more in a moment on Power Tracks. And welcome back to Power Tracks, the Renegades TNT Monster Truck Challenge from the Nashville Motor Raceway in the Music City. We are about to enter into the quarterfinals. Here comes last week's winner. Matter of fact, he got his first win of 1989 last week. That is King Crunch, Scott Stevens, the GMC out of Woodlands, Texas, and he is taking on a formidable opponent in the form of the veteran John Breen, the Mad Dog Chevrolet from Barnett, Missouri. They're about equal in horsepower, but remember, this King Crunch is that high technology monster truck.
Well, Scott Stevens is running a rear engine concept. He's just about to get his truck ironed out. He proved that last week. Well, we're going to find out if last week was a fluke, and right now it doesn't look that way. King Crunch out of Texas going to the next round. Kevin Ford, the crew chief, said they could do it 2 in a row. Let's see if they can live up to it now.
28 years old, out of Woodlands, Texas. He was rocking and rolling a little bit, but Scott Stevens gets that win, and he is trying to make it 2 straight championships in a row from Nashville, Tennessee.
It's got to look like you got awfully squirrely coming off that second set of cars.
Yeah, I did that slow pass, and it takes me a little bit to get back up to speed again. Maybe I shouldn't have done that easy by run, but we're ready. We're not worried about nothing. The truck's running good. Hadn't hurt no parts all weekend, and we're ready for that white truck, Army.
Now, that white truck he's talking about is the defending national champion USA 1. Whether or not he gets him later is yet to be determined as we get a replay from that race. Boy, he is really rocking and rolling coming down the track, Army.
Scott Stevens trucks historically have always had a real weird bounce in the rear suspension. Now, the front end goes where he wants it to, and the rear end hopefully follows, but that may play a role a little bit later. Again, it amazes me. He is after USA 1 tonight, isn't he, Richard?
But then everybody is on this circuit.
But this Texan wants that white truck bad.
And here's a guy that'll take on anybody, and he normally whips them. Talking about Dennis Anderson, the Gravedigger Chevrolet out of Chesapeake, Virginia. But he's got a real battle on his hands with Yosemite Sam and Sam Poor. He's out of Jonas Bridge, North Carolina. This is a Ford against a Chevrolet.
We told you the story about Yosemite Sam. He does not run the national circuit with us. He's not a traveling pro, but when he comes out, he has a tendency to knock some of these big boys off. I'll guarantee you the Gravedigger knows that he's going to give it all he can in the spectator side of the track. And again, Yosemite Sam comes out. Look how smooth the truck is. Not a lot of air. Gravedigger's going to have to come back. He does.
Gravedigger with the awesome power right there at the end gets the win. This means in the semifinals, Gravedigger takes on King Crunch.
Dennis, this is your big chance to come back. You're coming back from disqualification last week. The truck's looking good, but King Crunch is who you're going to be sitting next to in this next round.
Yeah, he's going to be tough. He's been pulling out some straight runs. I can't hold my truck straight on this course to save my life, but I'm going to give him the battle of his life.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be as you see King Crunch going back to the pit area to get ready for that semifinal race, which will be coming up in a few minutes against the Gravedigger. And that is going to be a classic, Army.
It'll definitely be a classic. One thing I'm looking for, Stevens in the King Crunch truck is real smooth. Look on the right of your screen. The Gravedigger, he's all over. Now, right now is where he's going to go or not. He had enough ground speed and forward motion to finish that thing. He will not be able to make that same run against Crunch.
Well, now we're ready for a couple of Fords go head-to-head. One is the hometown boy talking about Jammin' John Moore and the no-problem Ford Bronco. He's from Lafayette, Tennessee, but he is facing one of the toughest Fords I've ever seen. Tough enough, Pablo Cruz from Phoenix, Arizona.
This kid out of Phoenix, Arizona has impressed me a bunch. Every time I see him, the truck gets better, it gets quicker. He's doing a great job of driving it, so he's not going to be a pushover for Moore. Meanwhile, Moore sits on the spectator side of the track. A lot of his neighbors sitting in a grandstand. He would love to put a win under his belt side by side. Keep an eye on Moore. He's there.
Yes,
John Moore coming back.
And the crowd is standing and cheering for the Tennessean. There you see John's wife, Heidi, giving him a thumbs up, saying, way to go, partner. John Moore makes it into the semifinals. He will face the winner of our next race.
He run better that time. Let it hang upside down.
We might be looking at somebody that's on a roll here. Last week you put the Gravedigger away. Right now, nobody wants to go up next to you. You're driving completely different. You are aggressive out there tonight. Why?
We came here to win.
Hometown have anything to do with it?
I'm sure it does. I want to do good being home. This is Nashville, and this is where we want to do good.
Everything looking okay? Ready for that next round?
I got to go put my coil back where it belongs, but it seemed to run better upside down, so I just might leave it there.
Good luck. We'll see you in that next round, John.
Appreciate it.
I don't think I've ever seen as much intensity or confidence on a man's face as I just saw on John Moore's. We see a replay of his win, and it was a rather convincing win there at the finish line.
It was definitely convincing, but what amazes me is the driving style. Normally Moore, he's kind of easy going, boy. He's coming off the high dive tonight.
Here's one all the crowd's been waiting to see in action. Your defending Renegades TNT National Champion, Rod Litzow, USA 1, that white truck, against the Barbarian and Jim Miller Ford against Chevrolet.
Keep an eye on Miller. I'll guarantee you he's going to pull the trigger. I use that term, but you watch it. Miller is going after USA 1. Nothing to lose for the Ford. You got to lay them all on the table. Side by side, a good run. Miller might do it. He did. Richard, the upset of the year.
Fair and square, no question about it. USA 1 and Rod Litzow, a big upset. The Barbarian knocks him off.
Jim, you said you made an engine change. You had just as much, if not more, horsepower than anybody. I think you just proved it. You put USA 1 on a trailer.
Yeah, that's right. I've been trying to do it for about 2 years now, and it finally come true.
You're going to the next round, and he's not. Good luck.
I sure need all the luck I can get.
Rod, the national championship, while it's fresh on your mind, you and Everett are getting back further and further into this corner. Can you still pull this thing out?
Oh, yeah. We gotta think positive that we're going to pull it out. We got to keep going that way. That's the only way we're thinking.
Well, Rod Litzow's night is over, but we still have 4 trucks trying to win it all tonight. When we come back, it's the semifinals on Power Tracks.
Power Tracks and the Renegades TNT Monster Truck Challenge is brought to you by TNT Motorsports, the nation's leader in pulling and monster truck racing.
And welcome back to the shootout at the Nashville Corral. It's the Renegade TNT Monster Truck Challenge. We are moving into the semifinals, and what a classic setup we've got here. Scott Stevens, King Crunch GMC, against Gravedigger and Dennis Anderson, the Chevrolet.
Richard, you hit the nail on the head when you called it a shootout. I have no idea how to call this one. The Gravedigger, he's got it on kill. You can see the two red lights. That indicates everything's okay.
Good start.
Stevens trying to go two in a row. Side by side at half track. Keep an eye on the Gravedigger. Makes a move. Oh, a problem with the Gravedigger, Richard, I believe.
Dennis Anderson got the win, but there's a red flag waving.
Now, the rule says both front tires must hit the obstacle. The left front tire did not. Anderson, second week in a row, out.
So Dennis Anderson disqualified. Your winner, Scott Stevens.
Second week in a row, you're going to the final. You keep getting quicker and quicker. Real quick, what lane are you going to be coming out of in that final? Like I don't know the answer already.
I'm going to stay in my lane. You know, that white truck just can't stay on the track. You know, last week he said that he was the toughest. Hey, we were going to the final round again. I don't see that white truck again. And, you know, I want the white truck, and he's a national champion. And, you know, the next round we're going to be against a tough truck. And, you know, they put USA 1 out. And, you know, that's who we really want to race, but we will race anybody we can get. We're just glad to be here tonight.
See you in Crash in that next final.
Thank you, Army.
So Scott Stevens extremely disappointed that he didn't get a shot at the USA 1. Instead, he'll race the winner of this one in the finals. It'll either be the surprise of the night, the Barbarian, Jim Miller, the Ford from Illinois, or the hometown truck, no problem, John Moore from Lafayette, Tennessee, and another Ford.
Keep an eye on the Barbarian. This kid is on a roll tonight. A lot of horsepower first time. Flat on the floor, driving style. Puts it on kill, and it explodes on him right on the end of the track, Richard.
A big-time problem for Jim Miller and the Barbarian. He gets the win over no problem. He would have gotten the win anyway. I just received the word no problem was disqualified. Once again, his front two tires did not go over the last set of junk cars, so he's disqualified. Now the question is, how much damage has the Barbarian suffered? Is he going to be able to come back in the championship? There you saw the fire from underneath that Ford. We're going to make our way trackside here in a moment with Army to find out if Jim Miller can come back to race in the finals.
For the ESPN fans, do you have any idea what happened on that run?
What happened, my front drive shaft twisted in two, and it wiped out in my transmission oil pan.
So you did lose it. That's where the fire came from. All the transmission oil got back on the headers and ignited.
There was about 4 gallons of transmission fluid instantly just drained out of the pan.
So tough break for Jim Miller. The first time this year he would have been in a championship, Army, and mechanical difficulties does him in. And look who is coming back in the championship because he was the fastest loser from the quarterfinals. The rookie, tough enough, Pablo Cruz and the Ford gets to go to the championship against King Crunch and Scott Stevens.
Oh, it looks like tonight, Nashville, Tennessee, you have to live on the other side of the Mississippi, west of the Mississippi to go to the final. Texas going against Arizona. Chevrolet going against Ford. Stevens trying to make it 2 in a row. He's going to do it. Scott Stevens being smooth. But I tell you, tough enough. Didn't back on him. He pushed him to the limits.
I think that was a matter of Scott letting off a little bit, Pablo coming on strong, but your winner, Scott Stevens in Nashville for the second week in a row.
Scott, everybody's been talking. They've been jumping on you. A lot of mouthing off going out there. But you're just putting them away one by one.
Yeah, you know, a few weeks ago, everybody just didn't think a whole lot about the truck. We just, you know, we broke 11 transmissions, never got it down the track, and hey, we never gave up. And now, you know, we're putting everybody on the trailer. That white truck's going again. You know, hey, he can't get down the track. He said, you know, he was quicker, you know. Well, we'd have been 2 seconds quicker tonight, maybe, you know. If he would have been here, we'd have had to run a little harder. But he isn't here. You know, we're just ready to go. The truck's, you know, like I said, we hadn't heard nothing.
So in the Music City tonight, a lot of monster truck drivers are singing the blues, the Gravedigger, Equalizer, but primarily Rod Litzow and USA 1 as Scott Stevens holds true with his promise to flat put the USA 1 truck away. And in the meanwhile, Scott really shakes up these national point standings with his second consecutive win. For Army Armstrong, I'm Richard Leake. We'll see you again on the tracks across America.